4B. Let's read the requirements again. Discuss the process of elimination. Also give brief reasons why values might not be most appropriate. Therefore, if you need to provide reasons, remember, this will be supporting your discussion with your theory. Right. And they indicate to us the most appropriate fair value of the building in Bloemfontein to be used to measure the investment property in the records of first as at 31 December 2019 in accordance with IFRS, and support your discussion with brief reasons, a little bit of theory. Why? Now, why do you say what you're saying? And you need to process of elimination. Therefore, identify in the scenario that they've provided you with a few amounts. You need to work through these amounts from the top. Identify the most appropriate amount. Yes, no, yes, no. And conclude on a final best case scenario amount that they can use to measure the investment property. Okay, so this is 9 marks. Now, how much do you need to write? Remember, final conclusion will count a mark. Therefore, you need to include plus minus 9 properly. Sorry, guys. Plus minus 9 proper sentences, of which one of this will be your conclusion, therefore 8. Okay. Now, when you look at the scenario provided on the left side of your screen, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 amounts to discuss. Therefore, at this point of time, from a theory-based scenario, if you include at least 5 and you remember your conclusion, you will have 6 out of the 9. But guys, then you should be sure that you will get your marks. Right. Okay. Now, before we look at this, I want you to please refer to your IFRS 13 revision page for me. Our revision page. Now, there's a few things that you need to remember, and if you can't remember these things, guys, please refer back to our IFRS 13 revision lecture. Now, it is important that your principal market should be used. If this is not available, the most advantage market should be used. Therefore, always first option, the principal market. Not available, your most advantage market. Remember, your principal market will be the market with the greatest volume and level of activity for similar buildings in this scenario. Right. Then it is important when we move on to our measurement that your fair value is the price that would be received to sell an asset or paid to transfer liability in an orderly transaction between market participants at measurement date. And for non-financial assets, which is a non-financial asset in this scenario, our building, we want to use our highest and best value. Right. Okay. Now, guys, let's refer back to the given scenario. We now need to answer the question. Therefore, as always, on a new page, indicate that this will be your part 4B exam technique. But for ease of reference, imagine that on the right side of your screen will be your part 4B, and this is a new page. And I've included that we need to focus on the most appropriate value. Now, the most appropriate value will be the value in a principal market. If there's no principal market, we need to use the value of our most advantage market. Therefore, we need to indicate this because we will have to right, I've included this that the most advantage market will be used if there is no principal market. And guys, we are able to identify from this given scenario that there is no principal market. Okay? How do we know this? If we refer to principal market, this is where there is the greatest volume of similar, look at the similar buildings. Okay, now let's look at the first value, 8350000. Remember, they indicate to us in the first paragraph on the left side top of your screen that this is a 15-story building in Bloemfontein. Oh, Afrikaans coming through, hey? Sorry guys. Free State to hold for capital appreciation and earn rental income. And we know that this is investment property. Therefore, keyword 15-story, soft aftermarket neighborhood and Bloemfontein. Now, if we look at the first amount, 8350000, they indicate to us that this relates to a building, similar 15-story, great, but it's situated in the V&A waterfront. Therefore, from a characteristic point of view, if you look at this, we cannot compare this building, which is situated in Cape Town, with a building which is situated in Bloem. This is not the same, guys. Therefore, I do not think that this will be your most appropriate amount. Therefore, no, this will not be the most appropriate amount. And then they also indicate to us that the land on which the V&A waterfront is built belongs to the government employees pension fund, and this are strictly regulated. Look at this. Now they provide us with a value relating to land which is strictly regulated. Therefore, there might be restrictions going forward to sell this building. Okay. Therefore, again, this will support why we indicate that this will not be an appropriate value, because this land is owned by government. And they actually indicate to us that it is strictly regulated. Therefore, going forward, will they even be able to sell this property? It's regulated by government. Okay, next, if we look at our 3570000, guys, you can see that I'm a bit tired here. Hey? Okay. Now they indicate to us that this is the average value of 50 buildings net. Therefore, they have already deducted 5% agent's commission that independent buyers paid during the past 2 years for similar buildings in Bloemfontein. This is important, guys. For similar buildings, yes. Independent buyers, yes. Remember, when you think about your fair value, here at the top, it's the price that would be received to sell an asset in an orderly transaction between market participants at measurement date, right? Therefore, they indicate to us all these buildings were sold by estate agents to various buyers from across the country. Therefore, this value, and remember, we will have to take out the value in terms of the estate agent's commission. Therefore, first we need to identify that the estate agent's commission, the transaction costs, should be excluded. Therefore, this will be the 3570000 divided by 95%. Remember, this amount is already after deducting the 5%. And this is an amount of 3757895. Okay. They indicate to us that there's independent buyers. It is similar buildings in Bloemfontein, and we have a history of 2 years. Therefore, when you look at this, in terms of a principal market, this will be similar when we compare this to our principal market. Why? Because in our principal market, we have greatest volume, similar, And always important to identify, guys, that this is also independent buyers. Therefore, this is a value contributed by different buyers. Therefore, there is independent buyers, which is great. They are knowledgeable and willing buyers. We have a similar building in Bloemfontein, not Cape Town. In Bloemfontein, we have the past 2 years history. Therefore, if we look at this, this can be our most appropriate in terms of our most advantage. Okay, mark it. Now let's leave that there. Next, 2.7 million. This is the most recent value paid on an insolvent auction for a similar building in Bloemfontein. Great, this is a similar building, guys. We are happy with this. But if we look at our definition in terms of fair value, this will not be an orderly transaction. Why? Because this is purchased from an insolvent estate. Therefore, this is not a normal transaction. Therefore, we can't use this. This is not a normal transaction. Next, our 4 million. This is the value that first determined this value. Do you see, guys? Therefore, the purchaser and paid for a similar building in Bloemfontein. Great. This is a similar building. We're happy. That it acquired from one of its 100% owned subsidiaries. Now, immediately, guys, then first will be the parent. And first will have control over the subsidiary. Therefore, technically speaking, first decided on the purchase price. Therefore, again, this is not an orderly transaction because first decided on the purchase price. Number 4, this is not independent because this is a related party and first actually decided on the price. Therefore, first sort of sold property to itself for 4 million. Therefore, this is not independent. This is not a principal market. Right, you with me on that one? Number 5, 3.5 million. Okay, so when we look at this, the indicator us, this is the value calculated by a valuator, taking future lease cash inflows into account of an identical building in the same area in Bloemfontein. Although buildings in this area are very popular, the valuator took a conservative approach and used 60% occupation rate in his calculation. Okay, guys, if the buildings are very popular in this area, I will debate, but why did he take 60% occupation rate? Isn't this a little bit too conservative? Remember now, this is a building and we want to place a value on this building, right? Therefore, we want to use the highest and best use. Therefore, in terms of valuations, because this is a non-financial asset, remember, we want to use our highest and best use. Therefore, I think 60% is too conservative. But will 100% be better? Question mark. We don't know really, but maybe try 90%. Maybe they should use 90%. Then it is important that they identify what will the actual inflows be going forward, guys. The inflow of the cash if rented out at 90%. And based on that, they will be able to determine a value for the property. Okay? Because only then will we be able to identify a value. Right, now when you look at this, our focus point, we need to use the value in our most advantaged market. Remember, there's no principal market here. There's no actual market for this specific product. Because remember, guys, when you look at buildings, it's not regular that you get buildings that look exactly the same with all of the exact same details. Therefore, when you look at this, we have identified that number one, the 8350,000 is not appropriate. Number two, we have identified that there is a most advantaged market. So let's just keep that right there. Number three, it's not an ordinary transaction, therefore no. Number four, it's a related party, no. Number five, we want the highest and best use, which we don't have because we only have this valuation at 60%. They still have to perform this and determine what is the actual highest and best use based on a better occupation rate. Therefore, no. And we can conclude, and remember your conclusion, this is your 1 mark, that this value, this 3757,895, will be the most appropriate value to use.